Hey people, what's going on? This is Rahul SriRam. Welcome to the Skinny Coder YouTube channel. So in this tutorial, we'll be diving in deep into Markdown, which is a markup language used to render static web pages. And I'll teach you how to write Markdown and use it in your APIs or open source repositories. So let's not waste time and hop in. Let me open my terminal, and I have a Markdown tutorial folder on my desktop, which is having a markdown.md file and an image too. I'll let you know why I'm using an image. So let me open VS Code in there. VS Code is the text editor that I'll be using. You can use any editor of your choice. You can also use online editors. There are many. I'll also show you a very simple trick to live reload and live interpret Markdown into its rendered form using GitHub issues in the final of this video. So as of now, I'll be using VS Code because it has got great support for Markdown. It is having cool extensions, and I'll be using only a single extension, which I think that pretty should do. So let's go to okay, so not this. Okay, the cursor should be here. Let me go to desktop and my Markdown tutorial, and let me open VS Code in there. Okay, so I'll show you how to open all this. So I'm having a Markdown.md file and an image file in there, which you saw over there. So the extension that I'll be using is Markdown AllInOne. You see that? Try to install this because it has got pretty cool features in it. You can live preview that. You keep writing your Markdown over here onto the side. It will be previewing the rendered Markdown. Like it will compile the Markdown. It will be showing the output. As of then, you don't need to do a command to do that. Okay, so this tutorial will be very interactive. It will be having it will be having many questions kind of. You see, this is a task that you should do. Make this a comment, and you'll have to turn this into a comment, and draw a horizontal line here, and you'll have to make that a horizontal line. Okay, so that is what you should do. Cool, great. Okay, so what is Markdown? Before getting to it, let me show you the overview of this video. So what is Markdown? Markdown is a lightweight markup language. It is not as heavy as HTML. HTML is also a markup language. It is hypertext markup language. It is used to create static and responsive websites or web pages, and we can use HTML for the most of the web development, and Markdown is not used on a wide scale as we are using HTML. It is for mostly used, like most of the times it is used for documentation of our public API or our open source repositories or our open source projects. So there are many flavors and there are many types of Markdown. There are many interpreters for Markdown. We'll be sticking to GFM, which is GitHub Flavoured MarkDown for this tutorial. Like there is an mkdocs follows a pattern of Markdown, and if we interpret that Markdown, we'll be seeing the same things in a different output way, or it will be rendered to a different UI. Okay, the headings will have a font size of 24 in GFM, but in mkdocs specific Markdown or any other public APIs, they're having their own Markdown style. If at all they're having their own Markdown style, that may have 20 pixels in font size for the heading one. Like that keeps changing. Okay, so we'll be sticking to GFM because GitHub Flavoured MarkDown is pretty simple and cool. Whatever we see on GitHub, like the public APIs or any documentation of any JavaScript backend or front-end frameworks or whatever be it, we'll be finding Markdown in there for headings and links and to embed images, to embed code blocks, all of it. So we'll open Markdown file and use the extension VS Code. That we have completed that. So I also introduced you to GFM and Markdown. So we'll be sticking it to GFM here. Next, I'll show you how to write comments and plain text and headings in Markdown. Then we'll hop into we don't need plain text, right? We just don't want plain text. We also want bold or italic or strike through or blocks or block code or whatever be it. So we'll be having text formatting in Markdown, how to do text formatting, and you know how important lists are for our Markdown, right? For our web page. We'll be using li and ol, ul tags in HTML, but it is very simple to create lists over here. I'll show you how to create ordered and both ordered and unordered lists, and I'll also show you how to write nested lists. And then the most important part of Markdown is code blocks. In HTML, it's such a pain in the ass to create code blocks, to embed code blocks and display it in our web pages. But in Markdown, it's pretty simple, because what do we find in documentation web pages or sites? All that we find is some snippets, code snippets or code blocks. So it should be easier to do in Markdown. So it will give us syntax highlighting. There will be inline code blocks, or there are two forms for fenced code blocks. I will be demonstrating both of them. And then comes images and links. They are pretty similar in syntax. There will be just a simple change in between them. So I'll be showing how to embed images and to navigate to links in GFM in Markdown. Then I'll show you how to use tables and checkboxes. I don't know if this feature, this tables and checkboxes are there in plain Markdown, but this might be specific to GitHub Flavoured MarkDown. Only in GFM, I think tables and checkboxes are present. Okay, so, and as I told you in the last, I'll be showing how to use live preview on the web. Within GitHub, you don't need an editor, you don't need an extension in VS Code to preview your Markdown. It is so simple. I'll let you know what to do. Okay, now let's hop in and open VS Code. Back to this. Okay, so this is the Markdown file. The extension of file format is .md. There are many flavors, as I've told you. We'll be sticking to GFM. Great. Now, how do I open the live preview of this? Because we are having the extension, I can open the preview over here, and I don't want to switch like this. I write something and I want to see the preview of it. So I'll be opening it to a split editor over here, and let me drag it here. Okay, and let me close the sidebar. Cool. Great. Now that we are ready with it, let's start it. So how do I make this a comment? In HTML, the syntax for comments is something like this, right? I put a bang over here, this and this. Okay, whatever I write in between here, that won't be visible in HTML, and it is pretty the same. It is the same in the markup, the Markdown too. For making this a comment in VS Code, there's a keyboard shortcut. I can put my cursor on this line and I can press Ctrl and slash, and that will turn it to a comment. So this is the slash, by the way. Okay, I'll have to press Ctrl slash and it will turn it to a comment. So why I like this extension, the preview of Markdown.md, you can see, make this a comment here visible as a text. Okay, I don't want it to visible here. I just want to confront that, make that as a comment and use it only in the code, but I don't want to display it in my, that is what comments do, right? They'll be present in our code, but that won't be present in the compiled version or interpreted version. So to make this a comment, I'll toggle the comment, and yeah, done. We can't see that. Okay, in the interpreted version, it is a live preview, we can't see that. Okay, next hop on to normal text. You don't need to do anything to this, because this is how we show normal text. You don't use this or hashes or dash. You don't need anything. You just write text. You have spaces on the top and the bottom, blank lines on the top and the bottom, and that will be normal text. Okay, cool. Now, horizontal rules. What do I mean by horizontal rules? In HTML, if you know, we'll be writing HR. Okay, that is a horizontal rule, and that will create a rule in our web page. Okay, in the web page, it will create a horizontal line. Okay, so in HTML, we use tags. So I am writing HR, and this is the most important part in Markdown. You can use HTML tags like font, or see a style tag, or HR tag, or BR tag, or bold, italic, code, like there are many tags in HTML, millions of them. You can use most of those tags, and it will be rendered how it will be rendered in HTML only. You don't need to write HTML/HTML and then write body/body. You don't need to do all that. Okay, in Markdown files, you can directly use the tag that you want to use, if at all Markdown is not able to do that to you. Okay, or else it would be wise to stick to Markdown itself. So in Markdown, in HTML we use HR tag, but in Markdown, how do I get a horizontal line in there? It's pretty simple. I just press 3 hyphens. Don't call these as dashes. Okay, please. I hate it when people call this as dashes. These are hyphens. Okay, so I write 3 hyphens over there. Like there can be many too, but we should have a minimum of 3, and less than 3 won't be rendered as a horizontal line. I put 3 hyphens over here, and I get a horizontal line there. Cool, great. Now let us get into headings. Headings in HTML, if you know, we are having 6 tags, H1, H2, and the list goes on to H6. And H1 is the biggest heading, and the next smaller one is H2, and the smallest of them is H6. But in Markdown, there are two flavors for writing headings. Like one will be using equal tos and hyphens, and other will be using hashes. And the first technique will be having only H1 and H2. We can't write up to 6 headings, only 2 headings are possible. But with the hashes technique, we can write all the 6 headings that are also possible in HTML. Okay, now to make this heading, this is the task given to us. The task is draw a horizontal line, and I drew a horizontal line. The task is completed. Make this a comment. The task is completed. And this task is make this a heading. To make this a heading, I'll be putting 3 equal to signs just below the line which I want to make the heading. I want to make this line as a heading, so I'll be putting 3 equal to signs below it. There shouldn't be any empty line between them, or else that won't be rendered properly. You can see this is plain text, and these are 3 equal to signs, and it is all in vain. It shouldn't have this, and you can see it is a heading 1 now. In most of the Markdown syntaxes, under H1 and H2, you'll be finding HR tag, I mean the horizontal rule inbuilt. You don't want to, if you don't want that, I can't help, because Markdown is pretty restricted at times, and if you don't want it, I don't know what to do. Even like if you don't want a horizontal rule just below your H1, I don't know what to do. I think it's better you get habituated to that. I'm specifying this because at times you might not like whatever you're doing in Markdown, and you may be pretty disappointed with the syntax, but we'll be still sticking to this because it's pretty simple to write documentation of our websites or our public APIs. And to make a heading 2, let's get back, and to make a H1 we use 3 equal to signs, and to make a heading 2 we'll be using 3 hyphens just below it. Again the same, oops, not there, yeah, 3 over there, and you see that is a heading 2 now. In the preview I'm not getting a heading 2, but in GFM, if I push this code to GitHub, in the preview of GitHub, I'll be seeing a line below heading 2.2. In this extension, it is not visible. See, this is what I meant by flavor of Markdown. Okay, maybe this preview, like whatever I'm using, Markdown AllInOne extension, might not be using the GFM or the GitHub Flavoured MarkDown. That is why it is not rendering a line below H2. But in GFM, if you are weighing it on our public websites, like for example React documentation, we'll be seeing a horizontal line. See, you can see a small horizontal line over there. I don't know if it is visible. Yeah, okay, let's get back. And similarly, there shouldn't be a empty line between, or else it won't be rendered properly. It should be this way, and this is a heading 2. Now we are done with the first type of headings. Now getting into the second type of headings, how do I make headings with hashes? For heading 1, I'll be putting a hash over here, and the most important thing is there should be a space, else it won't be considered as a heading. Okay, see, these both are the same. I'm using 3 equal tos under the line for heading 1, or I can also use the hashes technique to make it as a heading. Okay, and same applies. I'll be using 2 here to make this heading 2, and 3 here to make that as a heading 3, and 4 to make that. Remember, the spaces are very important, else it won't be rendered. You can see the change in color too, because the file format is Markdown. Okay, so VS Code is such an intelligent editor. It'll show the Markdown syntax how it should be shown. Okay, cool. So this is heading 5, and to make this as a heading 6, I'll be using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a space. And you might be thinking, can I use more of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and whatever you type there, no, it won't be rendered as a heading. Okay, that is bullshit. So there are only 6 headings, both in HTML and also in Markdowns. You see, this is the biggest heading. The size decreases, and it goes on till heading 6. Okay, now we have written normal text like this, like there is nothing, we don't put these comments or 3 lines or hashes or equal to, you don't put anything. That is considered as normal text. But at times you want some bold or italic, or strike through the text or whatever. So to add text formatting, we'll be using some pretty basic rules in Markdown. So how do I make something italic? Okay, I want to make this text italic. To make some text italic, I'll have to wrap it with asterisks. Don't call them as stars. Those are asterisks. ASTERISKs. Okay. So when I put wrap the line that I want to show as italic in asterisk, you see that is italic now. It bent. And there is also other way of doing it. I can wrap it with 2 underscores on the start and end of the line, and again you see that changed. Okay, so you'll be using a single asterisk or a single underscore on the start and end of the line, or you'll be wrapping the text that you want to show in it as italic with single asterisks or with single underscores. And if you multiply with them too, or if you put double asterisks on both the sides or double underscores on both sides, that will be a bold text or strong text. Okay, people use bold and strong, like aliases. They are interchangeably used. You see that now this is bold and this isn't. This is plain text and this is a bold text. Also, we can use 2 underscores and that will be converted to bold text. Okay, see that? Cool. Now, how do I get the problem with using same kind of syntax, like a single for this and double for this, might be confusing. So there is a tip that I want to give. Whenever you want to write bold, use asterisks, double asterisks, and whenever you want to make it italic, use underscores and not asterisks. Okay, because at times it gets pretty complex. Okay, because the website or my own blog, like which you can follow here, you see this is the Markdown. Whatever I'm teaching, by the way, whatever I'm teaching right now will be written here. See that this is a Learn Markdown for Easier Web Development article that I've written recently, and I've mentioned it here to use asterisks for strong text and underscore for italics, because it'll be pretty clean. Okay, this is all Markdown. This is a H1 and this is a comment. You can't see the comment because in rendered code you can't see a comment, and this is the output of that horizontal line, and this is H1 and this is H2, and again with the hashing technique and all these. Okay, so you can follow that guide. I'll be providing that link in the description too. Now how do I make some text strike through? I'll be wrapping the text that I want to strike it with 2 tildes, and if you don't know what tilde is just under your escape and just left to the 1 on your numeric keypad. By numerics I don't mean the something on the right of your keyboard, on the top of the alphabets. Okay, so that is, you see that it got striked over here because VS Code is such a pretty editor and it keeps doing that, and also it is striked over here. So you might be thinking, why do I want to strike the text? For example, in your public API, in version 1 of your API, you might be having some features and you discarded them in the next major version of it. Okay, so you made some non-backward compatible changes, and by that you want to make sure that there used to be some functions of this API and they are no longer visible or no longer supported by our API, and what are the new features that can be shown very precisely using the strike through text. Because if you just change the features block of your Markdown in the documentation, people might think that, okay, I've read the features already, maybe there is nothing new in this version, and that gets pretty messy, So you want to make sure that there is some strike through, like there are some features that I did not include in this feature or in this version of my API. So okay, this is striked, so this is not there. So in my implementation or the developer's implementation of your public API, he will be not using the strike through feature. Okay, so this is where you'll be using strike throughs. Trust me, it is really important when you publish npm packages to the global repository or whatever be it. Okay, now block quotes. Block quote is something like a note or error message or a note message or a tip message that you want to show in your web page on your documentation. So block quote, you'll be putting in the greater than symbol, I mean the arrow, and it is preferred to write a space. Not writing a space will do too, but I prefer writing a space after that. And you see that this is turned into a block code. Okay, and this is strike through. So I turned this into a block code. This task is completed too. Now let's get into lists. There are many types of lists, but we'll be sticking to unordered, ordered, and we'll also see how to nest them. In HTML, for ordered lists, we'll be using for the unordered list, we'll be using the UL tag, and for the ordered lists, you'll be using the OL tag, and in that, all the list items will be written in li, right? All the list items will be written in embedded in li tags. Here you don't need to do all that. Just put in a hyphen before it and a space, and you see that is the first point of our list. And make this the second list item. It asked me to make that as a second list item, so I'll be pressing again that and space, and you see that this is the second. And I want to make this as a third list item, and I'll do that. Okay, so you see that there are three list items in my unordered list. I'm using hyphens over here, but you can also use plus. See, a plus, and a plus. That will create an unordered list too. Or else you can also use an asterisk too. I'm using an asterisk over here, again an asterisk over here, and an asterisk over here, and again that is this. Okay, and how do I nest them? This should be the first sublist item of the second item. Okay, so to do that, I'll have to tab it. There should be 4 tab spaces. The spaces are, as of now, 2. I want to make that 4, and as I press that and I want to make that as a list item, and you see that is nested. That comes as a sublist of the second item, and I want this as a sublist item too. So I'll be tabbing it and do that, and the space is very important. Okay, so you see that first item, second item, first nested item of the second item, and the second nested item of the second item, and the third item. All of these are unordered lists. By unordered lists, there is no order, like only this should be the first thing or this should be the second thing. There isn't like that. That is why the icons are dots or circles. Okay, but while coming to ordered lists, you'll be seeing ABCDs or 1 2 3s for the markers of the list. Okay, in here I'll be pressing 1 and dot and a space, and that will become the first ordered item of the ordered list. And if I want to make this, people generally use 2 dot, and I don't prefer writing this. I want to make this 1 only, and in the output, this is weird, I know, but it will be rendered as 2 only. Yeah, even I got awestruck seeing that. Again, I press a 1 and a space, and it will be rendered as 3. And to make this a nested thing, I'll again do the tab and 1 again, and it will be the first nested list item of the third item. That is what we wanted there. And again the second nested list item of the third item. Also, we can mix these lists. If I want an unordered list inside this ordered list, that is pretty possible. I can do this, right? See that inside a nested list, I'm having an unordered sublist over there. Okay, so this is it with lists. Now let's get into code. This is the most important part of Markdown. This is where Markdown beats HTML, because you don't need to do anything while writing code blocks. There are 3 ways to use code. The inline code is like you'll be writing a line and you want to highlight a keyword, or you want to show a small command inside that paragraph only. Okay, you don't want to preview that code as a code block. Okay, so how do I do that? For inline code, I'll be using backticks. For example, git commit m initial commit is the command, and I'll be wrapping that whole command with backticks. Again, if you don't know what a backtick is, it is just under your escape. And for writing a backtick, you don't okay, wait, I think I'll have to change my keyboard shortcuts. This is something to do with VS Code. I'm sorry, because I'm having a keyboard shortcut for VS Code which uses a backtick and it is waiting for the second key to be pressed. I'm sorry. Cool. Now, this is the backtick, you see that? And I'll put it here. And now this is code, okay? Like this is an inline code. This is the line, this is a paragraph, and in between that, the code is inline. Wherever you end that backtick, the text that is between the two backticks will be demonstrated as code, inline code. And echo hello world is a bash command, so I'll be doing this. And you see that now end is a normal text because that is not between backticks, and echo hello world is wrapped with backticks and it is a normal, it is a bash command, it is highlighted as code. Okay, cool. Now what is the other way of previewing code in our Markdown pages? This is for inline code, but if you want to show a program or a list of lines that if it is having multiple lines, you want to do this. The first thing is indentation. You can just indent it by 4 spaces. What happened? Yeah, see, now this is shown as a C program, right? But there is no syntax highlighting. Okay, in indented code blocks there is no syntax highlighting. That is a drawback of using indented code blocks for using a code block of this type. So people don't generally use indented code blocks. They'll be using unindented code blocks. And how do we use unindented code blocks? I'll be wrapping this text with 2 things. First thing, I can do 3 backticks over there and 3 backticks under there. Okay, now this will make this as a code block. See, this should be wrapped with 3 backticks. Remember, 1 backtick to make it inline code and 3 backticks for code block. Okay, a block of code which will be highlighted as a block, which will be shown like an editor kind of thing. Okay, and the most important part is we don't need to indent it as like this. You can just write it with the normal indentation. Even here there is no syntax highlighting. Okay, or else if I don't want to use backticks, I can also use 3 tildes on both top and bottom of it, and it is the same. It renders the same. Okay, now what if I want to enable syntax highlighting in here? Okay, I'll have to write the name of the language just after the first 3 backticks, not over here, after the first 3 and before starting of the code block. For example, this is a Java program, so I'll be writing Java, and you see I get syntax highlighting. That is as simple as that. Like, let us practice it again. I'll be using tildes mostly. Cool. So this is a JavaScript code block, and if I write JS or if I write JavaScript, you get syntax highlighting over there. Okay, if you don't get a syntax highlighting, and it is not possible to get syntax highlighting in inline code blocks. They'll be just shown as comments. Maybe there are some ways, but I think it gets pretty complex. Okay, so let's practice it more, because again, why am I doing it more? Because it's pretty useful. Displaying code in our public API is like, I did many things to do that in HTML and all in vain. Okay, so Markdown came to rescue. You see, I wrapped it in 3 this and 3 backticks, or even in tildes, you can do anything, and I've written the file format or the name of the syntax over here, and you get the syntax editing. Now, there are many languages, almost like 60 to 70 programming languages are supported by Markdown, and this code blocks thing, and the syntax highlighting will be provided for them. For example, I have Python, and I'll have to write Python over there and close it. Okay, and you see I get Python, and I also have Bash. Bash is the command line programming language on Unix and Linux and Mac OS operating systems. And the most important thing, for example, there is a version change, like from version 1.2 you have changed to 2 points, or like there is a major version change, or there is a non-backward compatible version change in your API. So to show the change in code, you can also use diff. You'll be familiar with this if you know Git. Git will be having a command called Git Diff, which will be showing which code is taken out from the file and which code is inserted. So if I wrap it with code blocks and write diff over here, and let me close it, You see that I put a minus sign here and a space. So this is the older version that used to be there. Okay, and I put a plus here, and this is the newer version which will be there in this code block. So it used to be import star as React from React, const app and some line, but now it isn't that. We have deleted that line, and we have instead of that we are using this line, import React, and we are destructuring component from React and writing that. Okay, this will be very useful if you want to publicly demonstrate that there are some changes in the code that we are writing in our API. Okay, that's it. Okay, I shouldn't be doing it here. Export default app, that comes under the code block. Okay, cool. Yeah, the diff is also possible in GFM, GitHub Flavoured MarkDown. This is Bash, Python and JavaScript. Okay, so as of now we have completed with code. Now let's get into images. Images display the image located at this location without an alternate text. By alternate text, you might be knowing there will be an alt attribute for image tag in HTML after the source attribute. That will be if at all there is some problem with rendering the image. There can be many issues with images in websites. So if you hover your mouse onto that image area on your website, there will be an alternate text which will be popping up to make you know that this is the image that will be previewing. Okay, so that is known as an alternate text, and if you don't want that, there is a way to do that. Okay, so now I'll be demonstrating how to deal with images. Okay, first thing, there should be a bang and the name of the image file. Okay, I'll be naming it TSC logo because I'll be using the skinny coder logo to demonstrate it, and that is the name of the image that I'm showing here. That will be previewed if the image didn't load. Okay, that is not alternate text. I'll show you what alternate text is. That is the name of the image file, and the source where that image file is tsc.png, and you see, and why, from where did I get this tsc.png? It is over here. Like it is in this folder, in the same folder where my markdown.image file is there. So it is visible like that. Okay, and if I hover onto this, there is no text popping up, right? You don't see any text popping up there because I have not provided any alternate text over here. Okay, so this is how to preview images which are there in your folder, which are there in locally. Okay, but if you don't want to show local images, and if you want to show some if you want to pull images from the web, okay, then you copy the link of that image, and instead of that local thing over there, you put that, and it's pretty the same. See that it still displays because in this link this image is stored. Okay, cool, getting it? So we can also use the local thing and also that. And so remember the syntax, a bang should be there first and the name of the image. Why am I using the name? For example, there is some mistake in the URL or whatever we get. Now you see that is the name of the image. That should be there, but it isn't because there is some mistake in the link we have provided, or the image file size is too much that the web page is not able to render it. Okay, cool. Now what if I want to show an alternate text? Okay, I'll do that, and just after the URL I'll put a space and open my double quotes, and whatever I write in those double quotes will be shown as the alternate text for my image. Okay, for example, I want the alternate text to be the skinny coder logo. Okay, cool. Now to see the difference onto the second image, I'll go and put you see that the skinny coder logo. That is what I meant by alternate text. Okay, yeah. Now coming to links has got a pretty same syntax as that of images, except that there is no this exclamation mark or the bang before that. So if I want to display this link, like anchor tags in HTML, the a tag, or the link tags in HTML, you don't need to write all those tags in here. By the way, in GitHub Flavoured MarkDown, if you just write a link, that will be highlighted as a link. Okay, so that is it. It will be just highlighted as a link. But if you don't want that to be highlighted as a link, you can wrap it in a code block, an inline code block, and now that's a link, but it isn't highlighted. because what is wrong with highlighting a link? If I click on it, I'll be going to that website, okay, on my Chrome. Yeah, that is a problem. If you don't want that to happen, if at all you don't want that to happen, you do that. But GFM does this, but in basic Markdown, if you want to mention links, what do? It's pretty similar. This one you see here. I'll be writing the name of the link that I'll be demonstrating. So I'll be opening this. I told you there is no bang over here. If I'm using that exclamation mark over there, that is for images, and if I'm not using it, that is for links. Okay. The name of the link, like how you want to show that link as. For example, I want to show this link as TSC blog. Okay, that is the Skinny Coder blog, and the URL will be shown here. And the URL you can copy it from here, because come on, notes. Copy and paste in there, and you see that TSC blog, that is the name over here. And if I hover onto that, I'm not getting an alternate text, I'm just getting the name of the link that I've provided. And if you don't want the link to be provided like that, when you hover onto that, you can provide it with an alternate text, pretty same the way we did with the images. After the URL, we press a space, and whatever we put in the quotes over there, that is it. Okay, that will be the alternate text. So I want to write TSC blog alt text in there, and whenever I hover onto this link, I'll be getting TSC blog alt text. But since I have not mentioned the alternate text, I'll be getting the link that I've provided. Okay, so let me recap. If I'm having a bang over here or an exclamation mark, that is used to demonstrate images, and the images can be here in the folder that you're using for the Markdown file, or can be embedded in the web too. And for links, if you want to just leave the link as it is, you don't need to do anything. It will be automatically rendered as a link. But if you don't want that to happen, if you want to specify a name to this link, you will be writing the name that you want to specify over here. Now that is the link, and this will be the URL that will be popping into, right? And if you want to provide it with an alternate text, it is pretty the same. The space after the URL and whatever you write in the double quotes will be the alternate text. Okay, cool. Now comes the most important part, tables. And the remaining things are tables and task lists only. These are pretty specific to GitHub Flavoured Markdown, and I don't know, I'm not saying there isn't, but I don't know if it is available in normal plain Markdown. And by the way, there is nothing like plain Markdown. There is no documentation for this language, or there is no managing holder or a provider who is having the standard Markdown, and many are using the flavors of it. There is just Markdown, and people are using their own flavors of Markdown. They change the rendering techniques of Markdown, and it will be rendered in different ways. Okay, for example, this extension is using this font of something size 16 maybe, and for H1. But GFM, where I'll be using in here in the website, might be using a 22 pixels of font size for H1, and the MKTalks version of Markdown might be using just 16 again. So it is pretty possible for those changes, and you'll get to know those changes if I introduce you to tables and task lists. So how do I write a table? Like, when you see a table, what is it that comes to your mind? You can do the pretty same in Markdown. It is like very silly to write tables in Markdown. Okay, what did I do? This shouldn't be happening. Yeah. For example, he asked me to construct a table with name and email as columns. So we just separate how many columns are there with these pipes over there. Okay. So the first column name is name. Okay. And the second column name is email. See that? This is how you see a table, right? There will be a column name, and there will be lines in between and around the columns, and after there's an email. And now I want to insert text. Now if you know HTML, to write tables we'll be wrapping it with table and /table tags, and for the header of the table we'll be writing th and /th tags. Name and email are the names of the headers, and if you want to close the headers over there, I'll be just putting 3 lines in there, and again the pipe, and 3 hyphens in there, and again the pipe. And you see that this is the table header, and whatever we write below this, after this, will be rendered as the column, the row of the first column and the row variable of the second column. For example, I want to write Johnny, because I love Johnny. He's an all-rounder. Okay, and email is johnny@mail.com. See that? This is name, email, these are the table headers. Like, this is the name of this column, this is the name of this column. All the names will, after to show the difference between the header and the normal table data. Like, these will be the TD tags, this will be the TH tag. Okay, if I am talking in HTML. So to show that, we'll be using a minimum of 3 hyphens. There can be more too. Like, there can be more. It doesn't matter how many you use. Minimum should be 3. If you are using 2, I don't think it will work. It is. Wow. Maybe it is due to this extension, but as of the rules, it shouldn't work, and I don't know. Okay. So let me copy the line there and create another format. Okay. For example, I'm using Danny. You see what I'm doing there? Okay. By the way, this is turning into a formatted thing because I saved it. There is auto format in my settings. In here, auto format is enabled. That is why it got changed that way. But if you are not having auto format enabled, it won't. A minimum of 3 should do. It will be rendered, and there should be spaces, after and before the name that you are providing. For example, email is a column name. There will be a space before it and after it. Name is the column name. There is a space before it and after it. But there can be many too. That is what I'm talking about. It is pretty the same. Even same. Johnny is having a space before and after. It can have anything. You can write it in this way too. Like, it itself is shown as a table, right? A name and email columns. There is a line after them, and there are data over here. Name, email. Correspondingly, they'll be shown like this. And you can make them align this way. Okay, you can do whatever, like how you want. I'll be doing it normally, and if I click save, it will be anyways be formatted, so I don't waste time in writing it this way. Okay, so this is how tables are shown here. Okay, now there is no alignment, right? You see, this is the name column. The Johnny text or the email is in the center of here, right? And if at all I want this Johnny to be left aligned or to the right aligned or in the middle, and to do that I can do another thing. Okay, I'll be copying this code and I'll paste it here, and let me write gender and close it. Okay, there needn't be a space over there. Cool. What is the gender? It is male for Johnny. Obviously Johnny is male, and it is female for Danny. Okay, see that? Now there are 3 columns because I've mentioned 3 columns. That is the table header, because I wrote the lines after just below them, and this will become the table header. And you can't write multiple lines on the top. Okay, you won't be having multiple table headers, right? You'll be having a single table header for the table. Okay, column names will be having a single line. And this. Now I want to align the text. You see, tables with alignments. We have done tables without alignments. To align text, it's pretty simple. I'll be using these twos. The colon. If I put a colon over here, my text will be aligned to the left side. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, my text will be aligned to the right side, and if I want the emails to be in the center, I'll be putting colons on both sides of the lines which I've used to show the difference between table headers and these lines. And I want gender to be right aligned, and I put the colon to the right side of the line. You can't put these in here and here. You just need to show the colons on both sides for center aligning, on the left side for left side aligning, and to the right side for right side aligning. You see that male and female are aligned to the right line over here, and Johnny and Danny are aligned here like this in a straight line of left, and these are center aligned. If at all I remove this, you see that male and female to be left aligned, because left aligned I think is default. You see that is default left, and if I put it on the right, it goes there. And if I want this two to be center aligned, I'll be putting in this, and now these are center aligned. Okay, cool. I'll just stick to writing it this way. The leftmost column will be having left aligned, the center column will be having center aligned, and the rightmost column will be having right aligned. So to demonstrate, to show aligning in our tables, we use columns on the both sides for center, on the right side for right, and on the left side for right, and this should be used only in the lines row of the for table demonstration, and not over here or in the table data. And if you're not doing any of this, they'll be by default this left aligned. Okay, so now what is a task list? Task list is similar to a checkbox. Okay, in HTML you'll be having a checkbox, right? You can be clicking on it and it will be turned on, and you'll be not clicking on it, it will be turned off. Task lists are pretty useful in our APIs if you want to demonstrate what are the features that will be there and what are the features that won't be there. Okay, so for task lists, first I'll have to write a list, and I've shown you multiple ways of writing a list, right? Let me go to lists over there. We can use asterisk, we can use hyphens, or we can use the plus sign too. We should first write a list. So let this be checked item 1, and let me copy that 3 times, and this will be unchecked item, and this will be checked item 2. Okay, cool. Now how do I show that this is checked, that this is ticked and this is unticked and all? I'll just, you see, Markdown is like how do you represent it in handwriting, or how do you show it? For example, how simply can you demonstrate a checkbox? You can write this here and you can put an X in there, and you see that you put an X, you crossed it, so it is checked in. And if you leave it with an empty space, it is not checked. There should be a space, by the way. If you don't do it, it will not render that way. And I want this to be checked, so I'll put an X over there, and see that. If you want me to zoom in, I should have done this before, right? So this is checked, and this is unchecked. Okay, so this feature is available, this feature is not available, and this feature is available. You can demonstrate it this way in our public API. Okay, so that is it, guys. I think we are done with all of them. Let me check it once. Okay, tables and checkbox, links, images, code blocks. Cool, great. So now let us go. I've been talking about. So this is Markdown 2. Okay, you can follow this link, skinnycoder.github.io. This is my blog, and for developer essentials, see that under the development essentials, you'll be getting over here first. And if you go to development essentials, you'll be having bash and Markdown. Under the Markdown, we'll be seeing all the. It will be like a cheat sheet. You know, whatever I've done in here, that will be provided here with how to do it too. Okay, italic should be wrapped with single asterisk or underscores, and the output will be like this. So it is very descriptive, quite descriptive. You can follow this if you want to write Markdown and show that. Okay, so now you understand whenever you go to GitHub or for any documentation, or for any public APIs, you see this is H1, a linked H1, by the way. This is H2. This is an inline link, and this is a list, an unordered list. This is a code block, which is using syntax highlighting of JavaScript. Okay, there are many. Okay, cool. So now how do I you don't want to use VS Code and extensions, okay, like live preview, you don't get the GitHub Flavoured MarkDown in here, okay. If you want that specifically, there is a tip I want to do. You go to any public open source repository, like I am using React's open source repository, and go to issues, okay, and go to new issue. You won't be filing a new issue over here, but for example, documentation issue and whatever. See, now the title will be a markdown file. We'll be just using it for our rendering it with the markdown. We won't be submit new issue. We won't do that because we are not having an issue with the documentation. So I'll copy this code and paste it in there. Okay, cool. Now if I go to preview, it is a live preview. Okay, in issues we'll be having live preview. See, markdown tutorial. You can't see a comment because I've commented it. This is normal text. We got a horizontal line over here, heading 1 and heading 2, and these are the 6 headings: italic text, bold text, strike through text, and this is a block quote. The unordered lists and nested list, ordered list and nested lists, inline code blocks. This is not quite nice in here, but in normal markdown which we'll be using here will be, by the way, I wrote all my blog in markdown too. See, this normal text and horizontal, these are markdown too. The links I've put here, these are markdown too. That is some another flavor of markdown, that is not GFM. Okay, so see, this is a code block, and this is a syntax highlighted code block. These all are syntax highlighted code blocks. This is a diff. You get a red line and a green line in there. Okay, this is an image, and you are not getting any alternate text, but here you're getting the skinny code logo alternate text. This is a link without an alternate text, and this is a link with alternate text, TSC blog alternate text. That is what we have written, and you see how table is in here. Okay, the male and female are aligned to the right, aligned to the left, aligned in center, and these are default aligned to the left because we are not doing it with alignment. And these are the task lists. Let me enlarge it. Okay, oh god, that is too much. See, there is a change in the font or how it is rendered. See, checkboxes. But if you come here, it's quite different because it is rendering in a different way. This extension is using another flavor of markdown, and it is not the GFM which we are using. Okay, so I hope this will be helping you guys. So it is a very good language that we can be using. The file format is .md. Okay, so that is it for this video, guys. Thank you. I'll be back with an amazing tutorial too.